go. Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to another stream here on Celtics Digest. We have a great one here today as we have a special guest to break down some thoughts revolving around the draft, potentially Jaylen Brown's surgery that he obviously just had, and also some potential trades as well. And it's my boy, NikNBA, over on YouTube. Shout out to Nick for joining us. Nick, how are you doing today, man?
I'm great, man. How y'all doing?
Doing good. I'm excited to have you. And of course, we are with our other co-host as well, Patrick Billings. Patrick, excited to have you as well. Break down some draft stuff. You and Nick can actually get onto some key discussions. And I feel like this is going to be a great episode for everyone today.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped. I mean, we got a little audio issue over here, but it's a mess to start, but we're going to pull it back together and we're going to talk some good ball.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a good discussions. A little bit of a late start here because we did have some audio issues, but it's okay. We will be rolling and getting through it with you guys, having a great afternoon stream with everyone here today. So I think the main point of the stream today is to kind of dive in and really look at some prospects, as the NBA draft is now 2 weeks away from today. It is obviously on the 25th, and that's going to be a big day for everyone around the league. There's going to be some potential trades with rumors being thrown around, but I think the main point to really pay attention to for the Celtics is those two picks that they have. They have pick 28 and they have pick 23. Over on Celtics Digest, we've kind of dived in and looked at some key guys that we are interested in as well. Patrick and I have dove in and looked at some centers, looked at some guards, looked at some wings. But Nick, I want to kind of get your opinion on some guys, because there's some key guys that you've kind of discussed that we haven't brought up here on Celtics Digest that maybe the fans can find some interest in, that or lead to some videos for your channel as well.
Yeah, I did a video where I had like my top 8 or so. And my favorite right now is Drake Powe out of North Carolina. He's a 6'6" wing, is a defensive monster. On the perimeter, he has quick hands. His wingspan is 7 feet, and he like uses it perfectly. Like, he clouds passing lanes, like he does everything. So North Carolina played 3 games against Duke this year, right? Against Flag only had 4 points in 2 games. Against Con, he had 5 points in 3 games. And I mean, like, their aggressiveness just went down as he checked them. And he can also shoot the 3. He shot 38% from 3. He shot 69% at the rim. In the combine, he ranked at the top in terms of vertical leap and standing leap. So he's really athletic. He shot 38% from 3, of course. 42% from the corners and 37% from the right wing. And he's a guy that I think can project into a team that's great, because I believe 98% of his threes were assisted. Now, he is a guy that I think can create some, but his handle needs to get tighter. It needs to get tighter. But I think on the defensive side and shooting, like, he's phenomenal. So his range kind of fluctuates a lot. So 28 seems like it could be possible, but there's some where I see him at 22. There's somewhere I see him at like 35. So I'm not really sure, but is what it is. At 32, I would like to get a big and a wing. So at 32, there's guys like Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton. He was there for a long time. Ray Knob from Stanford. I'm not really sure if he'll be there at 32, but I like him a lot. And there's a guy from Kentucky that it's too early. Like, 32 is way too early. But Amari Williams from Kentucky, like, I love this kid so much. He can pass his ass off. But yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know if the Celtics use these 2 picks to possibly trade up or to like trade back a lot like they did in the Jordan Walsh draft. But there's a lot of guys that I like, and I'm excited to see who y'all say.
All right, Patrick, I mean, those are some guys that we really haven't talked about. Obviously, Amari Williams, Drake Powell. I know we kind of had some discussions off camera about them leading up to today, but what are your kind of thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, Drake Powell is a one-and-done guy out of UNC, so there's a lot of work to be done on him. I think the Celtics definitely do like a guy who could work around the perimeter. The 38% is definitely something that can be worked on as well. I'm not sure if he's shooting it too much at like a high clip when it comes to attempts, but I think that the defense is something that's huge when it comes to that with the Celtics, of course, and I think that's how he's going to find his way into the lineup. But I mean, like I've been talking to you, Bruce, Nick, I haven't really been able to talk to you, of course, but I think that the Celtics do move like in a little bit of a veteran way more than they do with a little bit of a younger guy, especially from the wing. And I think at 28, I think that they might go Kalkbrenner at 28 instead of the 32. I think that could be a little bit more realistic. And when it comes to Drake Powell's draft stock, like you said, he's pretty all over the place. I definitely saw a video where some Bulls fans were talking about how they're interested at
12.
him at 12. So he is probably got the biggest gap in the NBA draft from where you think he could be 25, 35, but he could also be in the lottery, which is ridiculous. But I mean, again, there's a couple guys that we also talked about. I do like Kalkbrenner as well. Williams would be more your style, Bruce, being from Kentucky. But my eyes lit up because I thought you were going to talk about Kobe Bryant, because that's someone that I do like a lot as well. A lot of people on the YouTube don't like me talking about these guards that can shoot, but I mean, you can never get enough guards, and it's a guard-heavy draft.
Nah, I like those guys that you mentioned. Obviously, Kobe Bryant, I'm very intrigued by. I feel like when you guys mentioned Drake Powell, kind of on those boards, kind of going up and down, there's a lot of players in this draft that are really like that. I know Thomas Sorber, someone that I'm very interested in, is kind of in that situation as well. Kind of, some people think he's a lottery level talent. Some people think he's a late first rounder or mid first round talent. Even a guy in Cedric Coward, who Patrick covered as well over on the channel, is a little bit fluctuating as well. And he was someone that was worked out by the Boston Celtics. So this draft class, or this draft in general, I feel like we're going to see a lot of surprises and kind of who really gets selected in these positions. And it may even lead to some guys that we're particularly high on, or even the Celtics are particularly high on, to fall into a position to where, like you mentioned, Nick, maybe they do package both of these picks and move up into a higher position to kind of select one of their key guys. Maybe it is a Maxime Reynaud, maybe it's a Danny Wolf if one of those guys fall, or maybe it is one of these just like random lurky players like a Nick Clifford, a Cedric Coward, a Drake Powell, if they really do feel confident in those selections.
So yeah, I love Thomas, but like I haven't really talked about him too much because I think he's like out of the 28 range.
Yeah.
But recently he's been dropping. I don't know if that's because of the injury.
Other people. People are rising ahead of him, honestly. Yeah. I've seen Nick Clifford even rise up in the draft boards as well, looking like a lottery guy too.
So if Thomas gets to like 24, like I wouldn't mind going up and snagging him, like honestly. But yeah, we'll see though. We'll see.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, and I feel like for the Celtics as well, you kind of can't really go wrong in this draft. I know, Nick, you mentioned drafting a wing because there is a little bit of uncertainty there with obviously Jayson Tatum being injured this season. The Celtics do need someone. I know we're both still high on Jordan Walsh, hoping for a good season this year. Torrey Craig's been around the facility, but there's some uncertainty at some depth positions there with Sam Hauser's name fluctuating around the trade rumors as well. And then the big position is also a huge need for the Boston Celtics because there's the uncertainty of Kristaps Porziņģis, Luke Cornett, Al Horford, and with the Celtics being in the second apron, how many of those guys they can retain. So that's obviously a key addition, but also the guard as well, because if they do trade Jrue Holiday, promote Peyton Pritchard, they're still going to need some offensive firepower in that guard position, even alongside Baylor Sharman, if they do look to trade Sam Hauser. So this draft is very intriguing, very interesting. I know that noticed as well, Nick, there was one other guy you brought up to me as well. I think his name was like Yannick something. What do you really know about him?
There's a center from Penn State. His name is Yannick Coden Niedenhauser. Okay. So he is like really athletic. He's athletic as shit. So he's like 7 foot, 7'4" wingspan, I believe. And his role is shot blocking and lobs. Now, when I was watching him a little bit, he surprised me because he can actually score in the post. Like he's agile for his size. So I like him. I don't think 28 or 32 will be his range. I think he's a little bit after that. But like as a guy that he averaged 2.3 blocks. He was at Northern Illinois last season. He led their conference in blocks, and then he came to the Big Ten, and he also led them in blocks. So he's a guy that like if you need a specific role, like the things that I think he lacks in, he's young. Like his positioning isn't that great yet, but a lot of times he's just so athletic that it really he comes up for it. So I like him too, but there's like a lot of options in the 28 to 32 that I think are really, really good.
Yeah, I thought I like that too, because I think me and Bruce have kind of been going back and forth because we're talking about a wide variety of guys and where they're going to land in the draft, and we're kind of being a little bit realistic just because of how the past has been with the draft.
Yeah.
And I really don't feel like the Celtics are ever going to move up in a draft. I mean, I would definitely like them to if there's one of the guys that kind of stick out. Like I said, Cedric Howard, if he's sitting there at 24, or maybe kind of jump ahead of the Thunder because there's been talks about him going to the Thunder. I believe they're at 24, so maybe if he's still around. Even Rasheer Fleming, I just did a video on him as well. Extremely athletic, could shoot the three a lot better recently. And, I mean, he's another great player as well who's all over the place. So that's why I feel like we're kind of talking about so many different people. But when it comes to the Celtics in the drafts, they never like to stick around. I'm surprised when they do, but I could totally see them moving back as well. But, I mean, packaging that 28 and the 32 is definitely some value for another team.
100%. And I think you kind of mentioned it as well, Patrick, and this kind of correlates with them wanting to kind of address this problem as well, as because they're in the second apron, they need these kind of picks, right? They need to kind of look out and get this potential. So I guess to your guys' points, having so many great talents kind of available at pick 28 and 32 might be a blessing for the Boston Celtics, because if they can hit on two of those guys, and with the draft class being a little bit smaller, maybe some older players as well in those later picks and even in this NBA draft, it can have the Boston Celtics getting some key impact pieces kind of right away for next season when they need it most, I think.
Because like even a guy like Sion James from he can do everything. Like he's strong, he can play defense on the perimeter and the interior. I think 32 again is kind of high for him, but he's a guy that can plug and play right now and play anything. So it's a lot of guys, and there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of older prospects too who can come in and just be seasoned, I guess. But yeah, I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited for the draft. And you bring up that good point too, Nick. Maybe if the Celtics have some guys that they really like late, maybe they do trade 32 to get 34 and 52 or something like that, and they get 2 seconds, and they're able to address those concerns, getting two guys they really like. I know with their two-way contracts, obviously J.D. Davidson got promoted, so they do have one obviously open, so that might also lean to them kind of leading it and looking into that. Obviously, they have their other two guys, Miles Norris and Drew Peterson, but they're restricted free agents. They could obviously be brought back, but it's definitely interesting to look at for the Celtics in the draft. Any more things you guys want to talk about for the draft before we change topics?
Yeah, I mean, I could ask Nick real quick. I mean, so a lot of what the draft has been the last couple of years, I feel like there's been a higher value on these older college prospects, and I think that for me personally, I think that that's the way that the Celtics should be going, especially with this whole process with Jayson Tatum and kind of looking for an athletic big as well. I'm a huge fan of looking for someone who's athletic, being able to be a lob threat like we talked about earlier. So what do you realistically think for the Boston Celtics when it comes to the draft? How do you actually think that, what do you think the outcome is actually going to be?
I think they definitely get a big who's older. So I do. I think the Walsh pick surprised me a lot, because he was a guy that was young as shit, and he needed he was a project, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I don't think they go with another project. Even though we did draft Shaman last year, who's not a project. But who do we pick in the second? Was it Anton?
Yeah.
He's not even on the team no more. So I don't know what the hell happened with that. But I do think we're gonna get an older player. I think that's set. But with 2 picks, there might be a chance we get both. I don't know if it'll be a project there's a guy at Arkansas, a dude Thero, who was athletic. Hell, he is crazy.
Doing a video on him after this. I'm doing a video after this. So
I will say though, he's a project because he can't shoot. So I don't know if they go through that again. It's kind of like Walsh, but he's just a lot more physically imposing. You know what I'm saying? So even if they take a chance on him, his profile, I won't be upset at all. So yeah, I think they will go with a older player for sure. I'm not sure because in terms of the roster, if we end up trading Hauser, that trade will probably get us back a player that we're not gonna play that much. The Jrue trade might give us a player or two that we would try to play, but the position with KP's trade value being low as shit, I don't really think we're gonna be getting back a lot of players who can play. So, and then what happens with Luke Cornett? Hopefully we can keep him, but he might be a little bit expensive. So, I think it'll be a lot clearer with the trades to see like how many roster spots are open. But I do think in stone that we will pick an older like senior type player.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think kind of, once again, really getting those players who can make an impact right away with the Celtics being in this position and also being in the second apron is, once again, key. And I think you brought up a great point, Nick. The Jordan Walsh pick was definitely a little surprising as you see the Celtics go a little bit younger. We saw with Baylor Shireman, they went older this year, and they're kind of believing in that him taking that jump next season for the Boston Celtics, being that scoring guy off the bench. So I would also kind of be inclined to see them doing the same thing and following suit as well this season.
Yeah, and I think one other thing too, especially where we are in the draft, that's where a lot of these very successful college vets kind of fall in the draft too. Like I did a video on Walter Clayton. I know Bruce for the Suns, he would probably fit perfectly, but I mean, I would love him as a Boston Celtics because talk about a plug and play guy and fill into that 6-man role for the Celtics. If Peyton Pritchard's going to be able to get the starting role, as we all, kind of think is going to happen if Jrue is out of the door, which is most likely. I think that he's another plug-in guy that's actually just going to fit in perfectly and play the exact same role as Peyton Pritchard. So I think that they were in a pretty good position. I think if they go young, I think they would probably go young. Now that I'm talking about it out loud, I'm more 50-50 about it, but I guess it just depends on where Janai Broome is as well. They did bring him in for a workout, and just where his draft stock is, I believe he would be a second-round pick, and then maybe they would go in for a younger guy that's a little bit more polished at that 28. I like what you said about Thiero as well. I'm seeing some comparisons to a little bit of an OG Anunoby, which definitely excites me a little bit. But again, on the defensive end, he's soaring. But offensively, he shot, I think, 26% from three this year, which is just not going to cut it. And I think that they'll draft him if they see some potential in kind of just getting more of a jump shot.
Because I think the Celtics are a team that has had guys who like couldn't shoot that great. So like a Grant, they turn him into a guy who could shoot. Yep. Even a guy like Derrick, who was with San Antonio shooting like 32%, and then like he's blossomed. So I think with the Celtics, like a toolsy type of guy could be better off here than other places, because we do have like a track of like having guys shoot. So like if Thiero gets anywhere like near like 33%, like he's gonna be insane.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Nah, I agree. I can't wait to see Patrick's video on Thiero later today so that I can get some more information on him, and you guys should definitely check that one out as well. And ultimately, like you guys kind of broke down, the Celtics, lots of possibilities in the draft, really lots of possibilities everywhere in the offseason. That's why it's kind of been so questioning, a lot of just debating, discussions, just talking about everything in general here, kind of because it can go either which way because the uncertainty of this offseason. But pulling away from the draft, kind of want to get into something that we uploaded today on our channel from our guy Nick, but Patrick and I didn't really get to talk about it, and I wanted to touch on it with Nick as well. We saw the big news today come from Shams Charania regarding Jaylen Brown, and as he went through surgery to partially repair, I believe, the injury that he was dealing with. What was your guys' main takeaways from that today?
Oh, okay, I gotta go. I guess it just made me like go back to the actual like playoff run. It's just kind of crazy how I kind of saw like him not exploding as he usually is, because like he didn't dunk like for 4 games straight, and I was like, this is interesting. But like with him and Tatum like having surgery, I believe Brown would be back for the start of training camp. I think I saw that. I believe. Yeah. So yeah. Him just coming back slowly. I think there's no rush at all. I know he's a guy that would like to play every game, you know what I'm saying? But with Tatum out, I think we have a chance to like develop some guys, and of course who we draft. But it does kind of suck that our 2 best players are like in surgery beds right now. So it is what it is. But yeah, I didn't think he was actually gonna get the surgery, because he's been like out everywhere. So I didn't know he was gonna really get the surgery. But I'm glad that he did. I hope Tatum can get that wrist checked or whatever he got. It was been for like 5 years. But yeah, I'm just glad that they are taking the time. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it ends out well.
Yeah, I mean, my first reaction was a sigh of relief, honestly, because that's not something that you want to just let be fixed, just like normally. I don't want him to have to deal with it and tweak it again, and then here we are again in this deep ass hole, like just like struggling with another injury. So I think that was the first thing that I thought of was just relief, because I really just didn't think he was going to get it done, and that the fact that he'll be ready for training camp, I think is an awesome sign. Yeah, that's truly just all I have to say. It's just definitely just a relief.
Yeah, I would agree with you guys. I think Noah Dalzell was kind of on it when we were referring to Nick, where he was kind of out in public, and she was like talking to him, kind of getting some research, and she said that he was like contemplating the surgery. There was obviously no like made decision, and then obviously he went through with it. And I think it's a great sign for the Boston Celtics to be able to kind of, like you guys mentioned, take a little bit of a step back maybe this season. Obviously with Tatum being out, let Jaylen Brown be able to recoup and kind of get back to his full 100%. Because like you mentioned, Nick, he wasn't as explosive in the playoffs. Patrick and I talked about it even at the end of the season when he got those injection shots in his knee, that he wasn't obviously as explosive, and that was something that we were kind of keeping an eye on throughout the playoffs. And in the first series, he looked really, really solid to make it seem like he wasn't really bothering him as much. But then clearly in that New York series, you could kind of tell a little bit that it slowed him down a little bit. And then after, when we heard the big report of him obviously playing through an injury, it wasn't a shock really to, I think, anyone that was in the Celtics fan base.
Yeah.
But,
hey,
yeah.
but he did look good though, honestly, because Bruce and I were definitely worried about how he was moving laterally, and it was apparent that he was in pain. But then after the shots, and then we're looking at that second round, and I'm like, this is a total different person than it was a couple of weeks ago. So that definitely was, a good sign. But I think it's an even better sign that he did end up doing the surgery, because that's not something you want to linger.
Yeah, 100%. And for the Boston Celtics, obviously, for Jaylen Brown, for Jayson Tatum, got to rest up, got to be ready to go for the next season. And for Jaylen Brown, obviously, this is going to be a big year for him without Jayson Tatum being that number one superstar for the Boston Celtics. So being at 100% is definitely key. And then we can kind of dive into our last topic here, talking about some offseason stuff. There's obviously been so many reports, so many discussions revolving around this Celtics team. Shams Charania, once again today, out there speaking the same prophecy that he has spoken every single time, basically, saying, oh, they might trade Jaylen Brown and Derrick White if they get a haul. They're willing to listen. We all know that. He also tweeted out that they're most likely trying to trade Porzingis, Jrue Holiday, and Sam Hauser. We all know that. So basically the same gibberish and same stuff. But with the
kind of... Pat? Why you shaking?
Dude, I hate it. You have no idea how much I hate it. Shams hates the Boston Celtics. It's clear as day. I'm seeing it every single day that the Celtics are getting these trade calls from other teams. Yeah, but they're not doing anything with it clearly, so why are we even reporting this? They're just answering the phone, and then they're bringing up, oh, like, what's up with Jaylen Brown? What's up with Derrick White? We just said that they weren't going to be on the move, so why are you even calling? Get off the damn phone. That's my problem.
Bro, I see him. He was like this the whole time.
You have no idea. Bruce and I talk about this all the time, and it actually infuriates me. I mean, I think Bruce got a little bit pissed off today, though.
Yeah, I was definitely furious today. It's just absolutely ridiculous to see just these reports and stuff. I know that, Nick, we've kind of broken it down and talking about it too. I don't realistically see them trading JB or Derrick White unless, once again, they get a offer that they cannot refuse, which is going to be multiple first-round picks and young players that really intrigue them. And to be honest, teams might be throwing that at them, but I don't think that the Celtics are going to kind of really go on a fire sale and try to go towards the bottom. I think they're going to want to stay contingent with this kind of core around Jayson Tatum. And for Jaylen Brown and Derrick White, this is also a season without Jayson Tatum to boost their stock, make themselves look better on the Celtics team. So I don't even know why the Celtics would even entertain that idea. But revolving around the other players, Kristaps, Sam Hauser, Jrue Holiday, we obviously have heard some reports. I know you mentioned it earlier, Nick. Kristaps, a little bit more difficult to trade compared to the other two. What are your kind of thoughts on those three and potential moves you could see for the Celtics?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Sam. He's just like, it's sad that it's come to this, but he saves $80 million in tax penalties, because I think the repeater tax is like 7.5 for every dollar. So like it is what it is. Now Sam will probably have to salary up him to a team that can use his size and his shooting. You had a trade proposed in my video that I had. It was like to Detroit for an expiring contract and a first round pick in like 2028. That's probably the type of trade we're gonna have to do. Jrue has value. Like I don't know why people think Jrue doesn't have like, even though I thought like his regular season was kind of but like he shows that he plays in the playoffs every single time. So a team that's in that position is going to try to trade for Jrue, whether that's the Mavericks, whether that's the Clippers, Orlando, who I think can be in on him. But like he has some trade value. So whether that's like future pick oriented or like role player or just like get some contracts off. I think Jrue can get us back some things that we do like. Kristaps, if Kristaps played like he did in the regular season, he'll be a lot more viable. Also, we might still be playing right now, honestly. But yes, with KP's uncertainty with his like illness thing and like how bad he was in all of the playoffs this season, I think the only thing like saving him from like being actually tradable is that his contract is expiring. If he had like 2 years, I don't think anybody would trade for him. So I'm glad that his contract is expiring, so it's not that big of a risk for the team. So I don't know. I think Jrue has some value. I think Hauser's like the trader that is probably pretty clear. The KP one is the one where I'm just like, I don't know who's gonna take him.
Yeah, I was kind of saying the same thing too. It kind of just seems like these three guys are the main guys that are going to get moved. I think Sam Hauser makes a lot of sense for a lot of different teams, especially a team like the Magic. But that's not something I really want to think about, to be honest, because I don't want them to get any better. But yeah. I think that moving off his contract would be pretty simple of a move. I think that his value has gone up extremely, being one of the best three-point shooters in the league. And then I agree with you, too, with Jrue. I mean, his offense went down just because of him as an option on offense. He was literally in the starting five and as a fifth option. So you're obviously not going to be scoring as many points. And I think him at the three-point line actually was pretty impressive at points. So I think he's able to knock down those shots still and be able to run an offense and still pick up the best guy on the other team on defense. So I think a lot of teams are going to want him too, even though that contract is a little hefty. And going off of Porzingis, man, that contract stinks. I think he definitely wants to stay with the Boston Celtics. So I think that's why he was smoking hookah on Instagram. And no teams wants him. But I think he does want to stay. I mean, it would be nice for him to stay, but when it comes to this money, I think that we have the perfect opportunity with Jayson Tatum being out to really see what you got and see if you can kind of build around that core three that we talked about that are definitely not going anywhere. And like I said, the core three not going anywhere. So You build around them and you got to figure out what you got. I mean, it's more of a retool than a rebuild.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you guys brought up some great points, Nick. I think we saw some reports. I want to kind of get your takes on this as well. You guys mentioned Jrue Holiday has that value. I would agree that Jrue Holiday has that value. There was a report that came out from HP Basketball talking about how the Celtics are looking to potentially get a first-round pick in the deal surrounding Jrue Holiday, I believe. I would think, obviously, if they're going to be getting a first, with them trying to shed salary, we've kind of seen the reports, even if they do ship him to a Clippers or a Mavericks, one of those players that will be coming in will be going to a third team, you know what I mean? So the Celtics take less salary. Do you think that's possible for the Celtics to get a first-round pick? I personally think it is, but I just wanted to kind of get your guys' thoughts, too.
Yeah, I think Jrue is older than this player, but we traded Smart for Porzingis in 2 firsts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Drew's better than Smart. So it's like I don't know if times probably changed, but like shit, like we got 2 firsts and Porzingis for Smart. So even though that shit hurt, but it was like you can't pass up on that trade. You just can't. So I think it's very feasible if you can get 2 firsts for Smart that you can get a first for Jrue Holiday. Now, whether that first is a future first, whether it's like a pick for this season, I don't know, but I think you could definitely get a first for Jrue, especially from a playoff team who won't value those as much as the other teams would.
Yeah, I mean, you got to thank Rudy Gobert for that one, right? He ruined the whole trade market in the NBA. But to say that I'll say Marcus Smart is worse than Jrue Holiday, that won't come out of my mouth regardless of if the opinion is true or not. I refuse. I back up Marcus Smart till day one. But, I definitely think that you can definitely get a first-round pick for Jrue Holiday. And I think that there's a couple of teams that would definitely want him, especially for like a rising team as well. Send him back to Portland. I'm sure that Portland would love to have him too on the defensive end. They were a great defensive team after January, one of the best in the league. I think if they added another guy, and they got some pieces as well that I think the Celtics would definitely be interested in.
That's a very interesting team that I haven't really thought of. I know we've kind of heard the reports of the Clippers and the Mavericks, and I think with the Clippers, they have 2 picks that are tradable. They're 2030 and they're 2032 first-round picks, which I think would be definitely smart for the Celtics to try and go and get, because the uncertainty of the Clippers, obviously in 5 years with the roster of Jrue Holiday, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard will definitely be up there for question, and I think the Celtics could either, get a top pick and use it, or could use that in a potential trade down the line to go and acquire another name, like similar they did to bring in Kristaps or to bring Jrue Holiday, and I think that's something really key to keep an eye on. A lot of people were down on Jrue Holiday this season in the reports that I've been reading. I know you guys brought it up as well, but I feel like a lot of people are kind of knocking his trade value due to his offensive game that wasn't really the best. But like we guys mentioned, he took sacrificial roles. I know he shot 60% from the corner 2 seasons ago. This season, he just made 30. He shot 30% from the corner, so I know that was a little weary, but he's still a solid shooter on the perimeter. And we saw in the playoffs, I don't know if people forget about this, but in Game 3 of Game 4 versus Indiana, like Nick said, he was locked down on defense, and he really rises in those occasions. So I think for the Boston Celtics to kind of put Jrue Holiday out there and to not get a first-round pick or to not get, some top-tier value is kind of a bogus narrative that's kind of being spread out there.
And then if you look at all the rounds, there's one player that did the best job against Brunson, and it was Jrue Holiday. Like, out of everybody that tried to guard him, it was Jrue. Jrue, hit him to, a 30 effective field goal percentage. Like, he was insane on him. So, a guy that can guard the smallest player on the team and then guard Cat, who's their tallest, is like I don't understand how that doesn't have any value. So, but also, Patrick, I wanted to ask you something. What would it take for you to trade Jaylen? So
it would really have to be a lot, man. Like, it really would. It would have to be a perennial type of piece for the Boston Celtics, honestly, because you got to factor in Jaylen Brown's age as well and how well he plays with Jayson Tatum. So it's got to be someone that can just fill in that role. So is there someone that you have in mind? Like, if you actually did the deal?
I'm not really looking at Jaylen trades right now, as y'all said, because I don't think that's realistic. But there was somebody to be fair, I don't think either team. Well, I don't think the Rockets do the trade. But somebody brought up Thompson. I'm like, he's damn near untouchable. But it was like if there was a Jaylen Brown package centered around Thompson, I had to. I'm gonna need more, but I'm had to, because Thompson, even though he's young, and I think Jaylen is clearly the better guy now, and especially the guy if you're trying to contend, right, as of right now. But Amin's 22. He's amazing. He was my defensive player of the year this past year. He's an amazing player. With the gap year that the Celtics have with Tatum, maybe that can benefit a younger guy. But it's just it's super hard for me to part with Jaylen Brown. But a guy an Amin Thompson type is plus picks or something is the only way that I'm even listening to it.
Bruce, if you want, all right. So I think Amin Thompson would have to be in that deal. I think that they would kind of have to give a couple more pieces. Maybe if it's not even picks, throw in Cam Whitmore. I'm a little bit biased. I'm a Nova fan, Nick, so I could be a little bit more biased, but he does have a lot of room to grow, and he's shown it when there's guys out. He's been able to step up on offense, and he's an unbelievable scorer and extremely athletic. He was compared to Jaylen Brown in the draft. So I think that's a type of piece that you could get. And maybe if they get a little bit of a center, I know Steven Adams is on an expiring contract. So maybe if there's someone like him to add into the deal to where you can kind of extend him if you like him, a great rebounder. And then maybe you throw some picks. Jaylen Brown is no slouch, so you're expecting a big package.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Amen, maybe even Jabari Smith is someone that I would be interested in too, alongside of Cam Whitmore, alongside picks. That's something that would definitely intrigue me, but obviously not make me automatically pull the trigger. I know that there's been talks and discussions, right? We obviously saw, I believe it was from Chris Mannix, to watch out for the Spurs or something like that connected to Jaylen Brown a couple days ago. I know the potential of the second overall pick was brought up in those discussions. Now, personally, if I'm the Celtics and I'm getting the number 2 overall pick and the Dallas Mavericks want a point guard, I'm convincing them in every which way to get in this deal so I can get number 1 and they can take Dylan Harper, they can get what they want, and we can get Cooper Flagg. But that's the only like potential thing that I'm throwing out there that would make me even like consider it possibly.
I've been seeing so many people say like trade Jaylen for the top pick. I would definitely consider. I just don't think it's realistic. Like
that's what I'm saying. I don't see it's realistic either.
Realistic,
so that's where like I lean with it. I just don't think like we kind of discussed with Jaylen, like, and you've kind of said it as well. Like when looking at these trades, we're not really paying attention to them or keeping an eye to them because it doesn't make sense for the Celtics. But also, there's no like feasible offer really out there that I think we all could agree on that would be, I guess, like necessary to get back for Jaylen Brown, and the other team would also agree on, similar to like Derrick White as well, because with Derrick White's package and stuff like that, I know that I've seen some stuff and it's just like they're not trading all of that for Derrick White. Derrick White has so much more value than that.
Like if they call us talking about Flag, bro, I'm gonna stop right there.
Now we start to get delusional, and that's where we start losing.
But it's okay. It's not happening.
Yeah, but
it happens.
But ultimately, Celtics have a big offseason, a lot of discussions kind of roaming around what they're going to do. We kind of didn't really touch on Kristaps Porziņģis, so I want to touch on him a little bit as well. We discussed, obviously, him being a little bit of a harder contract to trade for the Boston Celtics. I know that he is trying to play in Euro basketball with Team Latvia, and maybe that's something the Celtics could keep an eye on. I also know that the Celtics technically don't have to drop below the second apron until the end of the season for the restrictions to kick in. So for the Boston Celtics, if they really wanted to, they could keep Porzingis on for this season, have him play with Team Latvia, look pretty solid, come back for the Celtics, really play with Jaylen Brown in that 1-2 game that they've been able to dominate in without Jayson Tatum now being sidelined, and maybe build up his value on the trade market to potentially use him out there as a trade. Do you guys think that that could be a possible thing for the Celtics to consider or possibly see this season as well?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just this is probably the lowest his trade value has been since like forever. Like I know he had a bad stint with the Mavericks where he got traded for Dinwiddie and like someone else to go to Washington, but like he just didn't put anything good in the playoffs on. So I would definitely like want to trade him. Like even though I think he can come back next season and have a cool regular season, especially with like some more shot attempts without Tatum. But I mean, in the playoffs, like he's given us one game in 2 years, which like the game was phenomenal. Like it helped us for sure. But like it's just we haven't been able to allow him. And for a guy that I think is the X factor for this team, like a guy that you shouldn't be able to scheme because he's so much taller. He can shoot the hell out of the ball. So I mean, I wouldn't mind a trade at all, of course, but I just I'm having a hard time like seeing the value of Kristaps.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I told Bruce as well. I think him playing in this FIBA thing with Latvia actually would help out a lot when it comes to his value, because if he plays well, I think that helps with the value. But I also agree to the point that if they keep him around, and I mean he definitely has the chance to be an all-star. If it's just him and Jaylen Brown, that also boosts your value as well. And I don't think that the Celtics are going to miss the playoffs that next year. That's not going to happen. So I think that he has a lot of opportunity for his value to rise back up and have teams be more interested in him and have more confidence in wanting to trade for him. So I think that that's also a possibility if they can't get all of him this season, that next season it's the perfect opportunity to do that, especially on the expiring contract.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting with Kristaps Porziņģis. You guys brought up some great points surrounding him and, the positives and negatives of kind of keeping on his contract, trying to get rid of it, and how low of a value it really is at this point. And that may be something to keep the Celtics from steering away from a trade or potentially even still performing a trade but not getting the best value out of it in the deal. But ultimately, it was a great discussion that we had today on the channel today. I want to thank Nick for coming on once again
thank you, Nick.
as a great guest. Nick has been on the channel multiple times, and we have some great conversations off camera, and I really do appreciate the Celtics work that he does provide, breaking down the film, looking at key prospects. I know you guys are also very, very fond of his work as well, so if you're not subscribed and don't follow Nick already, definitely go check him out over on YouTube at NikNBA. It is right on that name tag. He does Celtics content, he does draft content. I know he also looks at other teams as well, breaking them down during the season and the off season, so if you definitely want some good film breakdown, definitely check him out. It's also his Twitter handle as well, where he also uploads some great stuff. Once again, Nick, thank you for hopping on. We really do appreciate it, man.
Appreciate y'all, man. It was a great show.
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it was awesome.
And once again, Patrick and I will be back here on Wednesday again next week, having some great discussions. So if you did enjoy the content here today as well, make sure to hit that subscribe button and definitely stay tuned, because we'll be back with this once again next Wednesday, and there'll be more news surrounding around the Celtics team before then. So we'll definitely have some videos coming out. Patrick's got that draft video coming out later today, so definitely stay tuned for that. But once again, thank you guys for being here, hanging out with us on this Wednesday evening. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and go Boston Celtics. Peace out.